Known as the movie capital of the world, bringing films to audiences that provide entertainment and at times thought-provoking drama, Hollywood recently hosted a different kind of media through a unique forum broadcast live worldwide on Supreme Master Television on Saturday, July 26, 2008. The Climate Change International Conference was held at the Pacific Design Center in West Hollywood, California, USA. Organized by the Supreme Master Ching Hai International Association, it was a conference that brought together green Hollywood celebrities and notable speakers. Co-hosted by Emmy Award-winning television journalist and vegan Jane Velez Mitchell, the event was informative and the subject matter highly relevant. 3 panels were conducted, each with a different theme: the urgent scientific facts of the climate crisis, its spiritual perspectives, and the transformational role of the media. Invited as a special guest speaker, Supreme Master Ching Hai graciously attended via live video conference to answer questions from the panelists as well as the audience. We now invite you to join us for the rebroadcast of the Climate Change International Conference.
This is our third and final panel, and we're talking about perhaps the most important aspect of this entire movement, and that is media, transformational media. We have heard the message. How do we get it out effectively to the rest of the world to avert this global catastrophe that we are in the midst of? So we are excited to have 3 amazing gentlemen with us. Dr. Gabriel Cousins, founder of the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center. People have gone there to turn their lives around and to turn around their health with a raw vegan diet. John Rotz, legendary film producer and founder of Visioneering Group and Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. Thank you so much for being here. And Scott Badenoch, who is CEO of Creative Citizen, a leading environmental and social networking website. So these are 3 individuals who are really changing the world, and in many different ways. We've said the same message over and over and over again. You don't have to be a genius to realize that meat production is destroying the world, destroying our own health, and it's just horribly cruel. Why is it that intelligent people cannot get this message? And that's what we want to talk to these gentlemen about. Dr. Cousins, let's talk about what we're trying to do here and how constructive television plays a role in that.
If we could just stand for a moment and do an Om just to kind of quiet the mind.
Let's do it.
So that prayer was about the merging of the heavens and the earth. And it's key to understanding what's going on. First, let's consider that not only is Supreme Master Ching Hai divinely inspired, but we all are. I really thank everybody for coming here and being divinely inspired. The media needs to be divinely inspired, and let's put it that way. And we can say that really Supreme Master TV is divinely inspired, and we need to understand that all the media that's happening now from our point of view should be, can be, and is divinely inspired. In 1975, I had a vision from deep in meditation. It said, you should learn to eat and live in a way that supports the spiritual energy. And from that time, 10 books have been written. Notable ones are Conscious Eating, Rainbow Green Life Cuisine, and Spiritual Nutrition. We have now outlined, including all the difficulties people face, and how to be a complete, successful vegan and live fooder. These books are carried in naturopathic schools around the world. It's like, this is what you need to do. You're a holistic physician. You need to do that. And the reason you're doing that actually is how do we become superconductors of the divine? And the diet that came through was a vegan live food diet. It is the best way, without a doubt, how to become a superconductor of the divine. From that place of awareness comes the deep compassion and love for all creation, for the living planet. We're no longer seeing ourselves as stewards of the living planet, which is also very good, but we are one with the living planet. There's a whole different set of discussion when we have that, a whole different set of understanding. Now, from the position of a holistic physician, a Columbia-trained medical doctor, we're going to talk a little bit and try to understand this in a deeper way. And what we need to understand is global warming, diabetes, are symptoms of a way of thinking in the world we call a predatory way, in which humans, animals, plants, and the living planet are considered as an economic unit to be exploited. I call it the culture of death. Now, we got to have a solution to that. And that's to move into the consciousness of the culture of life. And this is really what Supreme Master TV is about, and really what all our lives are about in a deeper way. And there are two ways of looking at it. One level, we can say, out of our need for survival and our need and our fear of danger and global warming, we're going to come up with, how do we decrease the carbon footprint? Okay, that's very good. But we haven't gone to the deeper level, which is a holistic approach, which says, wait a second, we have to look at our whole lives and turn that around. And the culture of life is about bringing compassion, bringing love, feeling that wholeness, knowing that the animal world is, in essence, omatakiasa, which means so all relationships. We're all related. And if you look deeply in the scriptures, the animals have their souls breathed into them first, as it says in the Torah, what we know as the Old Testament. The souls of the animals came first. And we look at Buddhism, and Buddha in the Sagarma Sutra said, very simply, in the future times, there will be ghosts who will tell you that it's okay to eat meat and be liberated. And he said, this is not possible. One cannot eat the living flesh of sentient beings and be liberated. And keep that in mind. And the Dalai Lama in March of 2005 has committed to being that way, vegetarian. So this is what we're saying. So in the Christian tradition, besides the Jewish tradition that comes out of the Torah, Jesus and all the disciples, as well documented in my book, Conscious Eating, were all vegetarian. Just so we know that the foundation of Christianity, the foundation of Judaism, was that vegetarian diet. Genesis 1:29 makes it very clear. I've given you the seed of every herb-bearing seed on the planet, and the tree of a fruit-bearing tree to be yours for food. What does that mean? It's a vegan diet. It's a live food diet. And it was given to us 6,000 years ago. Or we're just a little slow on the uptake. But it's there, right in front of our face. So it is the dietary blueprint for healing the planet and healing ourselves. And we talked about diabetes. I'll just make a point that the rate of diabetes for meat eaters is 4 times higher. And at the Tree of Life, we are reversing diabetes. It's called unhealable. It is. If you keep eating meat and sugar, it certainly is. But we're reversing it on an average of 21 days, type 2 diabetes. And we got lots of documentation. We're getting more and more. So what we're saying is, change your consciousness, change your lifestyle. And so that's the question we've been dealing with all along here. And the bottom line of that, of course, is a minimum, the vegan diet. It's simply a meat-centered diet is a hoarding of resources that is not only causing economic, ecological disaster in the planet, but it literally is responsible for 40 to 60 million people dying of starvation on the diet. 15 million children a year dying. Even the World Health Organization is saying 29,500 children are dying each day of starvation. The deeper piece is we all have the shadow of the culture of death within us. We all have the shadow. We've got to admit that and be at peace with that. And the work is, how do we move into the culture of life consciousness? Because it's not fighting against something. We are moving into a consciousness of the culture of life, of compassion, of love, of our oneness with the planet, that now is what the media can do. And that's exactly what we've done. We've been inspired by Supreme Master TV. We hope many other media networks are, where we have created a virtual culture of life community. And you can access it at GabrielCousins.com and in a very short time, cultureoflifecommunity.com. And we are talking about alive people, alive relationships, alive parenting, alive planet, alive food, and literally alive building materials and ecology. We actually have been pioneering veganic organic farming. Veganic organic, well, that means we use nothing, no blood meal, no bone meal, and we have an apprenticeship in that. And we're about ready to start a master's program in ecological and live building. The thing that we have seen that's most powerful, once people get the idea that vegan is a good idea, but I'm afraid to do it, is we do these 7-day juice fasts. And we have seen tremendous transformation. In Israel, which actually has the second amount of vegetarians in the world outside of India, we do fasts with 80 people. We know that when people get that they can live without meat, they can then more comfortably make the transition to veganism. We invite you to join the whole transition into the culture of life way of being, so that we can live with love and consciousness and compassion with all of animal life, all of plant life, and all of the living planet. And understand at the deepest level, we are not stewards. We are one with the living planet. And may everyone here be blessed that all our actions are based on that shift in consciousness. The most important thing for the media is help people create a new morphogenic field that supports the shift in consciousness to a vegan culture of life consciousness. Thank you very much.
Dr. Gabriel Cousins, do you have any question for Supreme Master?
Yes, I do, actually. We understand that veganism is clearly a major lifestyle change. What other lifestyle and consciousness change would you recommend? One other one that you would recommend is most important to make that change into the culture of life?
Thank you, Dr. Cousins. You know already, veganism is just one of the aspects of our lives. The next one, together with veganism, we should also develop spiritual practice. Yes. And then because the more we dwell deep into our great self, the more knowledge we have, the more wisdom we will gain. And then nobody need even to tell us anything. We will go in the right direction in life. And then once we go into the right direction, everything else will be correct. So spiritual life is very essential. But I'm afraid that that probably is the next phase after vegetarianism. First, people have to open their heart to be compassionate to all beings, meaning forsake meat eating and returning to the noble way of life, the vegetarian diet. Then after that, the heart will be more open. And then the next, we can probably suggest more spiritual development. Even if they did not want spiritual development per se, after being vegetarian for a while, they will also become somewhat spiritually elevated, and maybe they would want to search more understanding about this subject and go deeper into enlightenment. Yeah, that's what I hope, and that's what I think.
We are delighted to have with us today John Rotz, legendary film promoter and founder of Visionary Group and Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. Tell us how you are shaping the world, John, in terms of how you're using the media to try to bring a message of peace and compassion.
Thank you. Well, first off, I want to thank everybody for being here today. And I'm very humbled to be in the presence of such amazing consciousness and presence. And this is a really exciting time because the nature of media is changing. People are the media today. And we no longer rely only on television, radio, newspapers, and such for our information, but we rely on one another, most importantly. The technical term is word-of-mouth marketing. And it's the very best, but it's also the hardest to achieve. And I think that's something that people have been alluding to today. How do we accomplish many of the ideas that we've been speaking about today? And in 1991, my company had the honor to work on a film called Mind Walk that some of you may be familiar with. And yes, it's a great film. And Mind Walk has been called an eco-spiritual version of My Dinner with Andre. And it explores a kind of systems view of the world. And when I was thinking about this presentation today, I pulled out the script because I remembered a line from the movie, and the line is, healing the universe is an inside job. And I changed it to healing the environment is an inside job. Because to me, that idea expresses a connection between our inner state or consciousness and transformation, personal responsibility and action in the outer world. And I view media as a kind of link that can connect those two and can facilitate this. So we've been involved in the marketing of a number of films like What the Bleep Do We Know and Peaceful Warrior and 11th Hour and the last Francis Ford Coppola film, Youth Without Youth, which is really quite an extraordinary piece of work. And we've noticed over the last several years that there is such great interest in transformational media. And I use the term media in the broadest and deepest sense of the word. So we've been slowly working within Hollywood to try and help Hollywood understand that there is, in fact, an audience for films and television programming in particular. When What the Bleep was first shot, every distributor in Hollywood said, no, there isn't a market for this film. No one will pay $5 to see it. And our position was, well, just because you don't know the audience doesn't mean we don't exist. And they said, prove it. So we did. And after a few $1 million of box office, of course, the distributors, came knocking on the door and saying, well, we can work with you now. We ultimately did work with the distributor. And I think one of the reasons for that was because it's important to build bridges with the media, whether it's a distributor or a television company or what have you. We've got to start bringing our consciousness, our sensibilities of this into the mainstream. Many people are not aware, but the media operate according to a set of values. And one of those values is typified by the expression, if it bleeds, it leads. Negativity is one of the top media values. And as is celebrity, we live in a celebrity-oriented culture. And these are the kinds of values that the media are promoting. And we all need to work to help foster and facilitate a new set of media values. There's a lovely expression, only a new seed will yield a new crop. And if we want the media to begin expressing new ideas, new visions, new models, then we have to be the ones to bring these to them. When I started 20 years ago, knocking on the doors of the media, and I would bring up such ideas as meditation, yoga, vegetarianism, the environment, I'm quite certain that they thought I was from another planet, as many people do today. And yet, after 20 years, we just keep knocking on the door. And little bit by little bit, the media are changing. This has brought about a realization that we need an organization, which we've started, called GATE, which stands for the Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. And the idea behind this organization is to bring together those conscious people within the entertainment business, on the creative and the business sides, people who understand consciousness, who understand transformation, and invite them to this forum to learn, to talk, to share ideas, resources, projects, money, and what have you, to help give birth more easily to these kinds of projects in the context of the mainstream entertainment business. So our plan now is to hold an inaugural meeting of GATE in the fall, and the title of the presentation is going to be Transform the World by Transforming Media and Entertainment. What we want everyone to do is to come together and begin talking about media values, the need for new media values. And I want to also mention, at one point I was speaking with Fritjof Capra, the Tao of Physics, the Turning Point, and he mentioned something in some correspondence that I think is really important. Imagine if instead of only or primarily using a rational, analytical, reductionist, linear mindset to create the news, what if we used an intuitive, holistic, nonlinear, and synthesizing mindset? There are so many projects in the world today, worldwide, and as I've traveled around opening films, and I work with Eckhart Tolle and seeing the response to the Eckhart Tolle Oprah webcast, 20 million people, as I see this happening, it's clear and evident that the level of consciousness has sufficiently risen that we want more than what Hollywood and the corporate news media have given us to this point. So things are changing. I feel very optimistic. And I'd like to, because you've all been extremely patient today, and I'm sure we could spend the next 2 weeks discussing these various issues, but I want to ask you to think about this, to listen to the media within. A vital source of wisdom is the media in each of us. Dreams, reflections, imagination, experience, revelation, reason, insight, emotion, intuitions, and inspiration. And while we may draw our data from the outside world, it is our internal processes that give it value. So in this information age, which is just a big cacophony, don't overlook the richest source of any age, and that's us. That's each of us in media. So thank you.
Supreme Master Ching Hai, would you like to weigh in on the issue of transformational media?
I think he's right. It's very good, Mr. Chandra. Very good idea. Very positive direction. It's very inspiring to hear you. Yes. It is true what he said, huh? Okay. Nowadays we have internet, we have email. So I think he's right. We could become ourselves the media that we would like it to be. So it's very good idea. Very good idea. So all of us can become journalists now. In the CNN system, they also have the iReport. And the people who watch the television, they report it themselves. So why not? That's why I said we all go out of our way, print all the information that we get about the urgency of the planet and the solution to save the planet. We do the media task. Very good, Mr. John. Mr. John, continue doing that. Thank you so much. By the way, are you a vegetarian?
Yes.
Right.
Wow, I knew it. Bravo. Why I asked? Because you are so enlightened, and the way you talk is very spiritual conscious. So I thought you must have been vegetarian sometime before this. Thank you so much for walking the talk. They're beautiful people today, aren't they? You collect all the beautiful people. I'm so glad to know them. Thank you, Jane. It must be your attraction. You're like a magnet.
Thank you so much, Supreme Master. And now we have Scott Badenoch, Chief Executive Officer of Creative Citizens.
Thank you. It's obviously been an extremely informative day. It's ironic that we're here in Hollywood, the land of dramatic plot lines, where we happen to have the most dramatic plot line in the history of humankind. It's quite a fascinating time to be alive, and climate change in reality is the most critical issue in the history of our species. And we are going to either evolve or we're going to go the way of the dinosaur. Now, I'd rather this be in movies than in real life as well, but the fact of the matter is, and if you look at all the scientific data from the top to the bottom, this is not a 50 to 100 year horizon of a problem, this is 3 to 5 years. So the time to act is right now, and the time for a massive holistic change is right now. So what I like to say is that every single facet of our society will be rethought through the lens of sustainability. So this is not just about being a vegetarian or a vegan. This is about rethinking every single thing that we do in our daily lives, in our businesses, at home, at our offices, in every single facet of our lives. And if we do not do that, we will not solve this problem. Now, while we also have the biggest problem in the history of mankind, we also have the greatest tool in the history of mankind, which is the internet. So this tool, which brings together the ability to collaborate, mobilize, and disseminate, is really going to be the savior, or can be the savior, for our human species. It's in reality the greatest asset of this period of transition that we have, where working together is now easier than ever before. So the thesis statement is that we must transition our society from one that is at odds with nature to one that is in accord with it. And fortunately, if there is a method to do that, that is through grassroots methodologies, which we've all forged for decades, and now we have a mechanism to really do it. So you look at the successes that have happened in the space. For instance, Wikipedia. Wikipedia now reaches 683 million visitors annually, twice the United States. They have over 10 million articles in 253 languages. And this all took place in 7 years. This is unprecedented in the history of humankind. This is real serious stuff. It's also been proven to be more accurate than the static encyclopedias like Encarta and Encyclopedia Britannica, because it can be updated live time. So dinosaurs are going by the wayside. Now we look at things like Facebook and MySpace, and a lot of times they're scoffed at as toys or kids' things, but the ability to mobilize and unify the human species through mechanisms like those is really incredible. You look at Facebook, it has over 80 million users in the space of 4 years. 80 million people in 4 years. This is not small stuff. Then you look at MySpace, they have over 150 million users in 5 years. They have 200,000 new users every day. 200,000 new users every day. This is massive. You look at YouTube, they have over 100 million videos, giving the ability to disseminate information and ideas, whole new levels of success. So tapping into those models was the creation of CreativeCitizen.com, and I like to call it the wiki for green living. So what we've seen is this drastic increase in awareness amongst the public that there is a massive problem called climate change, resource depletion, whatever you want to call it. We have, as a species, outstripped the supply on this planet. So what do? Well, there's lots of things we can do. So our mission as CreativeCitizen.com is to provide the community at large with the tools to disseminate immediately actionable and tangible creative solutions for more environmentally friendly life. Now, creative solutions are anything from products and services to habits that cost you nothing. So what we do is we show you the tangible benefits of these things, from turning the water off while you brush your teeth to installing solar panels and everything in between. Again, every single facet of your life can be rethought with a creative solution. So what we do is then also help you track in terms of 5 categories: waste, water, energy, emissions, and money, the real savings that result from these things, so that this whole green thing is not so innocuous to people. It starts making real sense. When you find out that turning the water off while you brush your teeth, which couldn't be any simpler, it takes that, saves 3,000 gallons a year per person. That is not a small amount. You extrapolate that times 4 people in a family, you got 12,000 gallons of water. This is for real stuff. Now, if you do 20, 30, 50 things like this that cost you nothing, and you end up saving massive amounts that take multiple cars off the road, more cars than you actually use in your daily life, and end up saving you $500, $1,000, $5,000 a year from the resources you would have been wasted, now we're starting to reach demographics. So what's been missing in this market is that there hasn't been a way for people to reach digestible actions that they can do right now. That is what CreativeCitizen.com was created to do. Now, to get back to going vegetarian, the reality is if you are only to do one thing in your daily life to become more environmentally friendly, that is to be a vegetarian or vegan, really a vegan.
To quote somebody who we all think is pretty smart, Albert Einstein, nothing will benefit human health and increase the chances for survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. This is Albert Einstein. Nothing will benefit human health and increase the chances for survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. What more needs to be said? Now, there are many different means to get this information out to the public. Dr. Tuttle's book, The World Peace Diet, is incredible. David Gershon's book, Low Carbon Diet, is also incredible. I suggest that all of you pick up 1 or 2 of those. And the reality is that meat feeds few at the expense of many. While we could be feeding ourselves and others with grain, we're instead feeding grain to cows. This makes no sense. Some of the stats that have been said today that are really crucial are that 16 pounds of grain goes to create 1 pound of meat. That is not a good equation. The idea that I like people to really consider is that for every serving of meat that you sit down at your dinner table and eat, the grain and cereals that went to feed the animal that created that meat could have fed 45 to 50 people. So when you sit and look at that one helping of meal, that one burger at the one restaurant, think about 45 or 50 people with empty bowls standing around you, hungry. That's really what's going on. There is no disconnect anymore. The most stark fact that I think that I've read and come across, and Supreme Master actually mentioned it earlier, I'm not sure if you guys picked up on it, but in America alone, the amount of grain that is used to feed just the cows in America would feed 840 million people. That is more than the entire population of starving people on the planet. So let's get real about this. Just in America, just the cows that we feed the grain would solve starvation worldwide. So the idea that what's on the end of your plate doesn't matter and is disconnected can't exist anymore. So what we do at Creative Citizen is, especially for Americans, a phased approach to becoming a vegan is very important. I've been a vegetarian for 5.5 years and grew up in Chicago. It's really tough to not eat meat when you live in a place like Chicago. And so I phased it out slowly, and actually it wasn't that slow, but the reality is I took steps to get there. And so what we have on Creative Citizen are different creative solutions that people can do in regards to eating a plant-based diet. First is eat less beef. Okay, you don't have to eliminate everything immediately. Eat less beef. Then the next is eat no beef. Then the next is eat just fish. Then the next is full-on vegetarian, and then finally vegan. And so this, especially for Americans who are extremely entrenched in a meat-eating diet, this is a way that people can really get out of that trap and get into a healthy lifestyle, and at the same time save an incalculable amount of resources for the rest of humanity. Supreme Master's got a really cool, convenient method, which is a good place to start, where you take 10 days out of a month off. So if you want to do 10 days in a row, it's kind of like a long fast, or if you want to do every third day or weekends, or whatever the case may be, this is a way to help you realize that you don't actually need to eat meat, which is really the most difficult mental barrier for people to get over. And infusing it 10 days a month, I think, is a very effective method. So all in all, I'd like to really get us back to the reality that having dominion over plants and animals means stewardship. That is the real definition. That's the real translation of that word. It's stewardship. It's not kill it, eat it, and destroy it. So, and then beyond that vegetarianism and veganism is a very wonderful thing when it comes to the environment, but there are infinite amount of creative solutions that you can tap into in your daily life. And that it is time now for our human race to act. We cannot wait for governments. We cannot wait for big business. We cannot wait for our neighbors. We must begin now. And it's time for the individual, each and every one of us, to stand up and make that change. And once we individually do that, one by one, the globe as a whole will shift. So I encourage you all to go to creativecitizen.com and really begin to infuse these things into your life and realize that there are so many things that it is absolutely unacceptable to say it's too big for me and I can't do it. It is every facet of your life, and you can do it. And frankly, we must.
Yes, we must. We must. Just like he said, we must do it. Either that or we will perish.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one last set of questions from the audience, and the first is from a professional stuntman, Robert Alonzo.
Master Cheng Hai and John Ratz. How can artists and entertainers use their influence to make living sacred and preserving life cool and in style? Are celebrities a key element in the evolution of humanity to a world of peace and compassion? Thank you.
I let John answer. He's smart and cool.
Thanks a lot. There are a lot of parts to that question. I personally feel that in our particular culture, we place too much emphasis on celebrities and not enough on people such as Supreme Master who are out there doing the good work. It's a big, big population. And there are a lot of people doing good work that are not recognized. And that's what when I speak of a shift in media values, we need to start honoring more everyday people who are doing good work and holding them out as models so that I don't think there's anybody in this room who doesn't find it very, very fascinating and helpful and inspiring when we hear of people, whether in India or Africa or Europe or other countries, that are, individuals who are out there on the streets connecting with whatever the problem is and working to make it better. And the way that celebrities can be helpful in that regard is that, I kind of look at them as transitionary. Because right now, many people do still pay attention to celebrities. And until we shift our consciousness and shift our orientation to what we truly value, celebrities can be there to give their stamp of approval, if you will. I can give you one example. My friend Jim Carrey is very much at the forefront of activism. He was a very big supporter of Aung San Suu Kyi. And he's working now, I didn't know this, and some of you probably do, that rice crops contribute a huge amount of methane in the environment. And Jim is now working on some sort of a rice project that will create a type of rice that doesn't outgas as much. And contribute to the methane problem. So celebrities are valuable in terms of giving, at this point, a kind of stamp of approval. But I feel, again, we need to phase that out and bring all of us and other people around the world who are brothers and sisters doing this work into focus for others.
Our next question comes from Spice Williams Crosby.
I am Spice Williams Crosby, and
Hi.
outside of being an actress and a stunt woman, a martial artist, I am a 30-year food combining organic vegan. And I also was the first vegan bodybuilder to squat 315 pounds and bench 235 drug-free and animal-free.
Wow. Wow.
It can be done.
Look at her.
Master Xing Hai, Ni Hao Ma.
Ni hao.
I'd like to make a statement first that America is #1 in cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and osteoporosis, and medical treatment here in our country is the 3rd biggest killer. I believe that diseases grow out of a toxic environment, and yet our FDA, our pharmaceutical companies, and our food companies continue to pollute our world and our bodies with their so-called approved chemicals, all in the name of science. I'd like to introduce my son, Luke Gregory Crosby, and he will ask the question.
Hello, my name is Luke Gregory Crosby. I'm the great-grandson of Bing Crosby.
Wow, hello.
I'm 13 years old and I've been a vegan for my entire life. I study martial arts, Shotokan, and I've never been vaccinated and everything. But when I was 18 months old, I got the Coxsackie virus from a newly vaccinated child, and from that, I got type 1 diabetes. But my question is, being a vegan keeps all diabetics' blood sugar regulated. How come doctors don't tell people about vegan, like diabetics, for instance, about vegan diets to keep their blood sugar regulated?
Beautiful, Luke. I'm so sorry. You don't need vaccination, but another vaccinated person could even infect you with this trouble of diabetic. Now, you're right, Luke. I think the doctors should inform all their patients about the helpful factor of being a vegan to cure diabetic as well as to prevent it, to further development. But maybe they don't, or some of them do, or maybe most of them don't. I think maybe they don't know it, Luke. Maybe they don't know about vegan diet that helps diabetic people. Vegetarianism is still not as fashionable as gene, perhaps. So what we do is we can put this in our website on the suprememastertelevision.com for people to look up to. And you or yourself or anyone here or anyone out there, please put it on your website as information for the diabetic people. Yeah, so that they know they can cure themselves by turning into vegan. Thank you, Luke, for the beautiful information. And you look beautiful yourself. Your mother must be proud.
There is a book that just came out this year that I wrote called There is a Cure to Diabetes. And yes, we are talking about veganism, but we're actually talking, the fast track is live food veganism, where we're reversing it in 21 days.
Wow.
Type 2. Type 1, what we see is, generally speaking, at least a 75% decrease in insulin need on this diet. So that's very significant because insulin has a lot of problems. Now, just for the fun of it, I want to note that Gabriel here has been 25 years on 99 to 100% live food. When I was a meat-eating captain of an undefeated football team and could do 70 push-ups, at the age of 65 years ago, I did 601 push-ups and a lot more flexible. So there's something to be said about the more than anti-aging effects of this kind of diet. Now I want to talk about vaccinations just for a moment. It's just part of the culture of consciousness. The main cause of polio has been, and admitted by the people who developed the vaccine, has been actually the vaccine. And they make this thing about everybody has to be vaccinated. The truth is people can catch, particularly SV40 virus, we don't want to get too technical, from other people, which is a cancer-causing virus. And then one correction, the main cause of death today is iatrogenic medicine. Number 1, not number 3. Carolyn Dean in her book about that. So we need to be aware of that. But the main thing, getting back to the details, also I'm going to say that vaccinations increase your rate, according to the research done in Finland and Denmark, approximately, I hate to say this, 147% of getting type 1 diabetes. Now, we have seen some healing. We've got 4 or 5 cases of type 1 diabetes that have completely healed. And our movie that's come out, which is naturally, simply raw, there is reversible diabetes. We actually had somebody cure on our movie, which is unexpected. But we have 4 or 5 cases. We can't consistently talk about it. For type 2 diabetes, we're talking 95% of the people reversing in 21 days to maybe 6 weeks to 3 months. So it's very exciting because we are turning on the anti-aging and anti-diabetic genes by this way. The veganism is good. Live food is dramatically better, and you can find out about it at, again, GabrielCousins.com. We have all that information. And the book, There is a Cure for Diabetes. But the big thing is the veganism is one of the main ways of preventing diabetes. Meat eating increases the rate of diabetes about 3.8 to 4 times.
Some of the diseases related to meat consumption and or production. Swine flu. Cured meats and fish increase leukemia risk in children. Antibiotic-resistant superbug infections from a strain of Staphylococcus aureus, blue tongue disease. E. coli. Salmonella. Bird flu, mad cow disease, or Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, 90% of the population at risk. Pig's disease, or PMWS, listeriosis, shellfish poisoning, preeclampsia, Campylobacter, Clostridium difficile, diseases hidden in healthy appearing livestock. Some of the costs of meat eating. Infertility. Eating just one serving of meat per day increases the risk of women's infertility by 32%, with additional meat consumption increasing the risk. Heart disease. Over 17 million lives lost globally each year. Cost of cardiovascular disease is at least $1 trillion a year. Cancer. Over 1 million new colon cancer patients diagnosed each year. More than 600,000 colon cancer-related mortalities annually. In the United States alone, colon cancer treatment costs about $6.5 billion. Millions of people are newly diagnosed with other meat-related cancers every year. Diabetes. 246 million people are affected worldwide. An estimated $174 billion spent each year on treatment in just the United States. Obesity. Worldwide, 1.6 billion adults are overweight, with 400 million more who are obese. Costs $93 billion each year for medical expenses in the United States alone. At least 2.6 million people die annually from problems related to being overweight or obese. Environmental. Use up to 70% of clean water. Pollute most of the water bodies. Deforest the lungs of the earth. Uses up to 43% of the world's cereal. Uses up to 85% of the world's soy. Cause world hunger and wars. 80% cause of global warming. Plus more.
Some of the costs of milk consumption. Bacterial microbes, pesticides and enzymes found in cheese derived from the inner stomach linings of other animals. Up to 80% of the calories in cheese are from pure fat. Breast, prostate and testicular cancer from hormones present in milk. Hysteria and Crohn's disease. Hormones and saturated fat leads to osteoporosis, obesity, diabetes and heart disease. Linked to higher incidences of multiple sclerosis. Classified as a major allergen. Lactose intolerance. Plus more.
So we just need to keep it in mind. But it's a symptom, again, of the culture of death way of life, as is vaccinations. And we're all talking about shifting the consciousness that says, hey, we're one with the living planet, and we start doing things in a natural way. In Ayurvedic, we call it, we stop doing crimes against wisdom. And diabetes is a way of living in a way that we're not creating crimes against wisdom that create global warming and indeed create a tremendous amount of chronic disease on the planet. Thank you for asking the question.
Well, thank you very much for such a fascinating question and some interesting answers. We have one last question from the audience, and it will come from Lance Webster.
I'm Lance Webster, the administrator for Earth Communications Office. From the early 1990s through a couple of years ago, we produced a series of public service announcements that have been seen by over 1 billion people worldwide in most of the major languages of the United Nations on environmental issues. And my question is, if we were to produce more materials, or if the media in general were to focus on a particular area, I'd like to ask each of the three panelists very briefly to say, what would you recommend for media focus? Could be governmental issues, could be technology issues, could be economic issues or spiritual issues, or a combination, or can you phrase, each of you, very briefly, what direction you think the media should go in order to create the kind of change we need to see in the world?
So the first thing we want to play with, and it starts really with what John said, there's another media, okay? And that media is our own frequency of our DNA. It's the DNA internet. And when we are conscious, we are communicating a level of consciousness, a holographic experience of a deeper reality. So when we create the holographic experience of peace within ourselves, it goes out all over the planet. It actually even affects the amount of sunspots. When people meditate in each equinox and solstice, literally what happens is the sunspots decrease by 36%. So don't think that we have the most powerful media that's inside of us, and it's the frequency of our DNA. It comes from our state of consciousness in our heart and our mind becoming one. So that's the ultimate media. It's the consciousness of the people creating the media that needs to be changed. And when we have people like John Ratz who have been that way for a while, it's great. And we need more people in the media who go in with consciousness and hold that consciousness. Because the truth is, there are so many people, and that's what John Ratz's work has shown, who want to get a deeper insight, but because of the economic needs, which is wealth for the few and ill health for the many, they're not allowing that truth to get out. But if we have the, spiritually inspired, divinely inspired media, they will still do this because they will be able to communicate that truth on every level. So beyond a particular topic, the truth will be communicated as on a consciousness level, whatever topic we're talking about.
Briefly, my general operating principle, as much as possible, is don't chase the media, be the media, and operate according to the principle of the highest first, which means go for that, whether it's a cause or, most importantly, consciousness and transformation itself. Let that be your guiding principle for selecting your approach, your tactic, your strategy, and so forth. So, there's so many issues, and it's mind-numbing, and maybe you even know the term compassion fatigue. There's just so much to do, and we don't have a lot of time to do it. So how do you choose? Well, align with what you feel inside. Align with your intuition about what you should follow. And don't chase the mainstream media, but be the media. Use the internet because it's the most effective tool right now for effecting social change. And there are so many ways of using the media from a marketing and public relations and publicity standpoint, as you know. And I feel that that's one of the best ways to marshal mass consciousness right now. A minor example, there's a movie in development right now called The Shift. As soon as the trailer for The Shift got out, there were hundreds of thousands of people worldwide who saw it. And the movie is profiling those individuals, companies, and organizations that are creating the shift in the world, not waiting for the mainstream media to report on it, but saying, look at what these people are doing. And there's tremendous support for it. And so just use your heart, your intuition, your consciousness to promote itself, consciousness and transformation, and whatever the manifestations of that are for you, go with that.
Very good, very good. Very good. Very good, John. Mr. Russ, very good.
So as you can tell, conscious media is being taken care of. John Rotz and the Elizabeth Estradas and Daryl Merchant's Elevate Films, Free Range Studios. These people are doing it, and they're doing it very, very well, and I look forward to seeing what they come out with in the future. The one take that I would have is sort of practical stuff. And while it's very clear that if people shift their consciousness, they will also become sustainable in their daily lives, because the first step is consciousness. But also, I think there's a big gap for people, especially in certain areas of this country, that it's kind of hard to take that leap from totally unconscious to conscious. So I think that, giving people sort of solutions, the stuff that we focus on, stuff that's really practical for them and realistic. And so we're actually working with Free Range Studios to come out with a movie about creative solutions, things that people can do in their daily lives, save the environment and themselves. And that's one area that I would really like to target a demographic that's still a long way away from being truly conscious. But I have faith that the rest of it is in very, very good hands.
From our panel, and now we do move on to Supreme Master and her closing thoughts. Well, we're hoping to have you sum up the conference. We've covered so much ground. We've covered spirituality. We've covered the global warming crisis and the connection to the food consumption habits of Americans and the rest of the world. We've covered a transformational media. What's the commonality there? How do we sort of compress all this so that we can take it away with us?
Good question. Jane and all the distinguished people, I am a very simple woman. We can only say that everything takes so long. To get the media involved in this maybe take some time. To have the technology for sustainable energy takes some time. To invent new cars, less pollution and all that, and the production of it takes long time, longer than several years. And we have not many years. That's why I have only one solution for everything. That is the vegan diet. Well, just say vegetarian diet. If people eat now and again a little dairy product, please don't scold them. It is some bad karma there, but if people do not concentrate the cow in the factory farming, just let them roam around like old time in the big meadows, just a few here and there, like family business, one or two. When you have a cow as a pet, he will also give a little milk. And if you use that a little bit, that is not a great sin. The sin is to abuse them and make them produce so much that they could not even stand up. So now if people agree to be vegetarian, I'm already very grateful. And once all of us, or at least the majority of us, become vegetarian, then the bad karma of the planet will change. The pattern of our destiny will change. And everything will become better. And we will invent much, much better things for our comfort without costing the earth. And vegetarian diet will stop the global warming immediately, almost 2 weeks until 2 years, that's the maximum. Within 2 years is a maximum. Otherwise, if we all become vegetarian, or almost all of us become vegetarian, it takes maybe 2 months or 3 months to see the effect right away. Like the ice will go back to where it was, the earth will cool off again, and our life will be much more in abundance, and war will stop. Everybody will think completely differently. They will treat each other completely differently because the compassion in their heart will return to its pristine power again. Right now, because of all this meat and poison, drug and cigarette, alcohol, the compassionate nature of people are being suppressed by the heaviness of the negative power that we have generated by using this poisonous stuff, especially the killing energy. That is the worst thing we can do to ourselves. So I have only one solution, that is being vegetarian. And the sooner the better. And then everything else, we will have time to take care. We will have time to develop different technology. We will have time to invent new cars. We will have time to tackle many other things that right now is not that urgent as the planetary warming, because truly it might destroy the whole planet and we will all go. Well, I don't mind going. It's just that how about the other people who like to live, who want to live on this planet, because they do not know yet there's another place that they could go. And if they die in such a situation, it's very difficult for their spiritual upliftment. And this is still a very beautiful planet. It's still repairable. So just one request, vegetarian diet. Then everything else we will have time to do and to think of. Very simple. 80% of global warming is caused by meat eating. So 80% of global warming will be solved by turning away from meat diet and adapting vegetarian diet. Now, another 20%, it is no problem really. Even if we still keep the cars, airplane, train, and take a lot of shower, it doesn't matter that much. Because only 20% of pollution, only 20% of damage, the earth can take care for us. Truly like that. So just spread out the vegetarianism, spread out all that information about the benefit of it. And that's the best thing we can do for the planet and for our children. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for your trust and your love for me. I wish all of you all the best. And God bless you in your mission.
Thank you, Supreme Master Ching Hai. I'm speaking for Donald, I'm sure this has been, I'm humbled and honored to have had the privilege of emceeing this amazing event and meeting so many wonderful, evolved people. It gives me hope because sometimes I do get depressed about what's happening in the world today. There's a lot of reasons for hope. As we wrap up tonight and conclude, let me tell you that here in California, there's a proposition on the November ballot called Prop 2, which is the Prevention of Farm Cruelty Act, which will ban pig gestation crates, veal crates, and battery crates. And it's on the November ballot, so you can vote yes on Prop 2. And this weekend, we are holding parties all across. I'm holding one with 375 RSVPs in Beverly Hills tomorrow, where people are coming together, and all of Hollywood is coming there to say we want to do whatever we can to stop this cruelty. So we are caring people. We are going to turn this around, and we can solve all these problems, literally waking up tomorrow and not only going vegan ourselves, and I'm vegan, I hope most of the people in this audience, raise your hand, are you vegetarian or vegan? How many of you? Okay, right there, that's great. And I'm sure the rest of you after this are on your way. On your way. So I'm filled with hope, and I have a renewed sense that we're going to keep moving forward, and we're going to make this world a compassionate place and a compassionate planet, right? Let's do it.
And on behalf of the rest of the Canadian team who came down to help us with this event this weekend, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to Supreme Master Ching Hai for giving us this opportunity, and to our incredible Los Angeles host. We appreciate everything you've done and wish you all the very best in taking what you've learned today out and expand it around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Really, thank you. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, all the MC. Thank you, all the hosts, the panels, great personage. We thank you all. Thank you, the organizing people as well. God bless you all. Goodbye now. So long, and please be a vegan if you're not yet. Try it. It will help you to see the world in a different perspective and to be closer to heaven. Just envision for me at least the world in which all beings live without fear of one another. We will all be vegan, and we all live in happiness and blessing from heaven. God bless you. Vegetarian or vegan should be the norm in the society right now, should be the official solution, the immediate solution, the immediate effect for our planet. The government, the media should please help.